It's morning. You'd think I'd be more prepared for mornings of conferences, especially day twos. I'm not. I'm not. This is but yeah. Okay, so day one, which was really for us day two. And if you attended like classes and sessions and so it was also day two. But it was like the big keynote day, right? So Matt Garman hit the stage. Um, in a way that I have to say is distinctly Amazonian because he's distinctly authentic. And it's something you have to appreciate that here's someone who thinks so much about the future and the trajectory of AWS, the AWS side of the building. And you can feel this warmth that comes from the audience because they understand that just like everyone sitting in that keynote room and all the it feels like hundreds of overflow rooms and there's like 78,000 people here or some crazy number that they gave us that I'm a little bit terrified of. Um, just like all of them, he's a builder. He loves what he's building. And there is so much respect for that in this audience that they really do feel like AWS is being shepherded by someone who gets it. And that's a really nice feeling to have. You know, I don't think every conference feels that way. They try real hard. But for an event this massive, to have that level of trust and kinship with your audience is pretty special. It's a pretty special thing. But yeah, we got kicked off and Matt Garman in a way that only Matt Garman can do, as we witnessed last year, boiled it down to a question that a lot of customers ask, which is why. And I think it's a lot of what a lot of us feel. Why? Why am I trying to do this? Why am I trying to fight through this? Why am I trying to deal with this? And the keynote stage illuminated pretty quickly with a better question. Why not? And I think that's the challenge that everyone's going to walk out of reInvent with. And yes, this event and from its inception was meant to challenge and spark that fire for invention and for builders and dreamers and developers and business leaders from all over the world to be able to get together and say, okay, I'm gonna go do something fundamentally different. I'm gonna go build something. I'm gonna go get my outcomes. And in a world and a time, and you've probably heard me say this before, that we are surrounded by language that mistakes outputs for outcomes. Getting something out of AI that you expected, that's an output. That's not an outcome, right? And there's something that AWS understands about that, which was really great. Listen, I'm not going to spend the next 2 minutes going through all the announcements because there are so many. It is like honestly drinking from a fire hose. I'm going to have to figure out a way to link to all the announcements because there were a lot. I actually want to talk instead about a couple things I saw on stage. First, let's talk Amazon Connect. It is the engagement hub. It is the contact stack that comes really born out of a need that Amazon had, which was to deliver exceptional engagement and well service. And it was born, to service the very complex needs of Amazon as an organization. And now this is a product that is doing just that. It is tackling the very, very complex needs of both the small and the midsize, but also very notably the very large, the very global. And I think there is a desire in the world of certainly contact center, but let's take service and engagement as a whole. the big enchilada. I think there is a desire to think of Amazon and Amazon Connect as not there, or that there is no there, and that couldn't be farther from the truth. You are going to get all the bells and whistles that you would expect out of a contact center solution. But what was so fascinating to see yesterday, and it's been something that we've been hearing from Pasquale and the entire team for some time, and it's something that I have been pushing everyone about, every vendor out there. What comes after that? What comes beyond? And we're seeing customers rethink what their use cases should be with an engagement engine and a connection hub like Amazon Connect. That it's not just, let me take my on-prem solution and move it to the cloud. That's one use case. What are the others? And Connect customers are coming up with those others, and it's really, really fun to see. And it's not trying to go after different functions. It's not saying, oh, well, now I'm going to be a sales engagement company. That's not it. That's not it. It's about, what problem can I solve? What engagement problem? What connection problem between my organization and my customer, my organization and my employees, my organization and my partners? What connection, what engagement, what experience problem can I solve? And they're using all of the wonderful building blocks and all of the tools and all of the AI and all of the data that is available through Amazon Connect to get that done. But there's also something truly Amazonian about Connect that I think is also important to share. And it's something that we heard from a customer last night. A couple of us had an opportunity to mix and mingle, mix it up with some of the customer experience leaders that are leveraging Amazon tools. And one customer, he was really excited about what they were going to go and continue to accomplish with Amazon Connect. And his comment was that with previous vendors, they bought into the promise. They bought into the promise of a shift from on-prem. They bought into the promise of all the different tools and solutions. They had certainly bought into the promise of what was going to be all the amazing automated workflows, all of the amazing AI that was going to come with it. And after well over 2 years, they still hadn't realized a fraction of the promises that they had bought into. But with Amazon Connect, even when they were signing the contract, they felt heard. They saw incremental movement before they started to implement. This is an organization that works from the customer back into the organization, and that's really important. This is an organization that focuses on customer-driven innovation. But make no mistake, they are a product-led growth organization. And I think that's really hard for some people to try to reconcile and understand. Like, why aren't, you're either all in on the customer or you're all in on your product. And that is a very old school view of how organizations and how go-to-market needs to pan out. And Amazon, and very specifically Amazon Connect, is proving that customer-driven innovation can lead to a very robust cycle of product-led growth. And there was one very big number flashed on the main stage keynote by Matt Garman that Amazon Connect has now hit and can officially state that they are over that $1 billion ARR mark. Pretty good for an organization that, and a solution that a lot of people like to discount. There's another moment on the main stage that I want to point out, and there's so much that I want to say about this that I'll probably write about it this week. There was a customer that hit the stage, and it was a customer that when he hit the stage, I almost shouted, "Hey, I know that guy. Just saw him a couple weeks ago." It was none other than Adobe CEO Shantanu Narayan. Now, I'm very, very used to, as you guys have heard before, used to seeing Shantanu and, yes, his quarter zip sweater hit the stage with that kind of welcoming and easy, and like I jokingly refer to him as like marketing's Uncle Shantanu, because he just comes out on stage and makes you instantly feel comfortable. Doesn't matter how many people are on the stage. And let me tell you, there were a lot of people in front of that stage, and he did it once again and made a room full of builders feel very comfortable. Because what was very interesting to see is my worlds collided as Shantanu Narayan and Adobe hit the main stage at Amazon reInvent, was that he was talking about Adobe as a customer of AWS. And it made me stop and think for a moment that Adobe doesn't just exist. They don't just build product, they exist as a company, they exist as an organization. They also need infrastructure. They also need room to invent. And much like Matt Garman challenged everybody in the room to think, Shantanu Narayan and all of the squad at Adobe, everyone building product, everyone going in and working with customers, they all need to think, what's the difference between our why and our why not? They need to think about what they're going to invent. They need to think about what they're going to reinvent. And for Adobe, they have reinvented everything from where they exist, from going from, disks and shifting into the cloud. But they've also had to think about how they want to grow their AI strategy, how they want to train. And we all know that responsibility and ethics and commercially safe, reliable AI outputs lead to what enterprises need for their business outcomes. And it was so interesting to hear just how much Adobe has thought through the different building blocks and the different opportunities here at AWS to make that reality real. So it was a big day yesterday. Lots of information. And I clearly am choking on air. So what the heck is happening with me right now? Oh my gosh. This is how you guys know stuff is live, because I'm literally, I don't know. But I'm going to leave you guys with this. I'm leaving this room and heading back into day 3. Lots more keynotes. The Swami keynote is going to be a big technology celebration. But this is what I want to show you. I got to show you some chaos. Hang on, watch this. This is the show. This is the expo. This is the, like, to understand just how chaotic and massive and insane this is. That's that. It's nuts here, folks. It's like we're living in the people jungle. But I share that because I think it's a really interesting view of just how big this ecosystem is. And yes, there are a ton of booths, and there are a ton of people, and there's a ton of activations, and there's a ton of stuff going on. But there are also a ton of people who are really, really excited about being able to answer why not, and then taking their first steps in answering how they could. And for someone who can be cynical and jaded on everything we see, it's a pretty cool thing to watch. So more tomorrow, I think, maybe. I don't know. I just might nap. Maybe I'll sleep in. What do you guys think? Yeah. But now I got to go pay attention. I'll see you guys tomorrow.